Assalamu everyone. It's been quite an interesting last 2 hours, and I've been given the honor for delivering the closing remarks, which is the toughest one, to capture all the enlightening conversation we had over the last 2 hours. But before I start, I would like to start with a disclaimer that I'm not a climate expert, and there's a lot of experts sitting here on the financing side, on the blending financing side, on how to really mitigate the environmental impact in Pakistan. I'm more a practitioner, and I'll actually give my closing remarks more from the lens as a practitioner, and I'll try to basically make things more real by sharing some examples and also what's actually going around. I remember the first time I heard about this climate change, and that is back in 2009. We had a global CEO by the name of Alan Jobe, and he came from Nestle to Unilever, and he set at that time the vision that we will double the business by halving the environmental footprint. Now that time it was quite a weird thing that you are trying to connect both the business growth with climate, and that was sometime around 17, 18 years back, when the climate was more like a poster child. It was something distant threat. It was not a living reality. And fast forward 1.5 decades now, and we see that everyone is talking about climate because everyone is impacted. And primarily because what's going around the world, it's not only Pakistan, what has happened in California, a very developed country, it's not going to be sparing any one of us, be it D&E markets or be it developed markets. So that's the disclaimer I would like to start off. I can't stop being conscious of what's happening around us. And what we have been seeing, that the world is actually getting a lot more polarized than it has been in the past about the challenge climate. And there is a degree of apocalyptic horror to this climate events. Yet the sense of disengagement and the lack of speed to do more feels as a threat. And it seems like that we are centuries away from the future, which is not the reality. In the fight, flight, or freeze response that the world takes to climate change, our choice is quite limited. We can only fight, and that too with actions, at least until we find a way to the Mars. And the possibility is that we need to basically get together for the collective actions. And this said, leaning completely one way or the other, doing work or doing business without impact, or doing impact without business, won't cut it. And we have to basically do it side by side. There's one lesson that we must acknowledge about sustainability, which sits at the heart of how private sector can support and accelerate climate positive change. And the lesson is that over the last 2 decades, we have learned that the true impact happens when our environmental and the social goals align with the genuine business stroke commercial goals. In other words, when sustainability pays, business sticks with it. Otherwise, business moves on. And that's a reality we have been saying lately. The success of true action is dependent on the power of well-built business case. And we have seen the current panel who have been talking about the bankable projects. It ensures that environmental and social institutes don't just stay at the periphery. They drive innovation and long-term growth. And what we address needs to be a universal challenge or a shared one. And the solution must not step or be impractical, which includes viability of not just commercial but impact. Let's start with climate, considering the conference has been convened around it, and it's an issue which is affecting each one of us. And it's the biggest threat in Pakistan. When we started our journey to our net zero ambition, we focused on getting our own house in order. And I'm referring towards Unilever now. How did we mitigate our emissions? And the company has been in Pakistan since independence, and we have benefited out of this country, but it's time to start paying back. And this is the time that it was back in 2019, 2020, we formed a strategic partnership with the Standard Chartered Bank to leverage state banks of Pakistan financing of the Green Initiative. We collaborated with solar providers like Rion Energy and Ksolar and replaced much of our fossil-based energy with a renewable energy. And today, in the last 10 years, our energy mix is 91% renewable. And if I were to compare our carbon emissions since 2015 baseline, we have reduced our carbon emissions by 93%. So this is very much doable, but it was backed by a clear commercial case. Otherwise, I don't think so as a private sector we would have been able to go that far. So therefore, it's very important for any private sector to really have a very compelling business case before they start investing into any sustainable project. The second bit is, I can say with confidence, because Unilever not just globally, but also in Pakistan, this model has been scaled. And the other one, which has been the talk of the town, is plastics, which of course, we take the responsibility because as a producer, and can often be a point of criticism for business like ours. And with due reason, we wanted to chase the goal that we create impact and not only headlines. How? Collect more than we sell. And that's a target we set for ourselves back in 2015, that we want to actually collect more plastic wastage in the country than we actually produce. I'm happy to share that last year, a year before the schedule, we actually collect more plastic than we sell in this country. And that is very doable. But again, it was backed by a clear commercial business case. We basically formed partnerships with some startups. We formed some partnerships with some private vendors that they do the collection on our behalf and they'll give a second life to the plastic. And the second life to the plastic was given by actually converting the same plastic into outdoor furniture and benches, which are going to be staying for years to come. We also basically worked with some local vendors how we actually convert our rigid shampoo bottles into recycled resins that we can actually reuse into our product. And it's not the story of Unilever. I'm aware that many other corporate companies today in Pakistan have taken such steps, particularly in case of plastics. There are companies who have taken initiative to actually collect the plastic and convert it into roads in a very same city we are actually here. So we have seen that how private sector is actually trying to solve this problem. But again, this problem has to be solved at the back of the financial case. For example, our R&D has been working that how we actually come up with a plastic which is sustainable and it does not come out at any additional cost, because we cannot go back and load this cost to a consumer and ask them for more price. They want a sustainable product but at a cheaper price. And therefore, it's important that we get our R&D into action. It's important that we get into partnership that comes at no cost. And that's the only way forward. I want to zoom in now into a critical component that ties all these initiatives together, and that's financing and bankability. Resourcing, but in project that produce results. This is what helped us commit, and this is what created. This is our playbook, and we believe it has a case for national replication. This is when investors commit, and the impact multiplies. What started as a renewable project in a small city, it went to the entire province. A plastic circularity program which started in a small area has actually gone to the entire city. There have been many companies who have been talking about regenerative agriculture. So we really need to be really going into these kind of practices, so we don't have to actually use a lot more fertilizer, because the land is a lot more fertile if we go into a regenerative agriculture. For Pakistan, climate initiatives by channeling much needed investment into renewables, waste management, and sustainable agriculture. It takes significant capital management. The lesson is very clear. If we can prove a business model that works, whether it's renewable energy or a plastic circular program, then the private sector will invest. But to achieve this at scale, we need that blend of government incentives, multilateral support, and private capital. When everyone contributes, no single entity bears the risk. And I think so that's the way forward. And that's what the conversation has been over the last 2 hours for private sector acceleration. And so as public sector acceleration, this can be unlocked with blended finance, where grants alone, dollarized loans alone, and private sector alone fails. Blended financing can serve as a catalyst by de-risking capital with public and philanthropic funds. I'm not a climate expert, as I said in the very beginning. I'm a very common Pakistani. Yeah. I'm a businessman here. And you have heard experts, you have heard the head of states here as well. And I can offer the blueprint that gave us the results. This is the essence that sustainability really means to us. It's not about the short-term fixes or token gestures. It's about compelling commercial cases, working with the multilaterals, working with the DFIs, working with the public sector, blending that finance, reducing the risk, and actually going for scalable projects. Towards the end, I would like to thank Dawn Group and all the organizers for holding such a exciting and enriching dialogue between public, private, and also the DFIs. I'm sure that from here onward, it's the time to take action. And the biblical floods we all experienced back in 2022, we don't end up experiencing once again. Thank you, and thank you, everyone.